Welcome to No Movies in Hell. I'm Chris Geiger.
I'm LaClaw Scott, and today we are reviewing Aftersun. What were your initial thoughts going into this film?
Going into this film, I had no idea what it was about. Well, so the description was very vague.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes I avoid reading descriptions or finding out about a movie before I go see it, just because sometimes it's better not to have any expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I knew this was getting some good press. It seemed like critics liked it. It was released in AMC. And as a very small independent movie, it seemed like it was in AMC for a long time. So I thought, well, I mean, for a long time compared to
Like other indie films.
other small indie films that would come and go really quickly, like Something in the Dirt was
Yeah.
literally gone in a week. But Aftersun was in more than one theater for at least a month, I'm gonna say. And so I thought, well, maybe I should see this. I had a weekend day free, and I thought, well, just go, and how bad could it be? So I didn't go in with high expectations. Honestly, I thought it was a French film. I think I thought it was a French film.
I'm sorry.
Right. But yeah, why? What were your impressions going in?
Okay. Same as you. I've heard some things like it was on festival circuit. I didn't know it was in the theater for that long. I thought that like it would probably be 2 3 week stint. I was I don't usually look up, what plots or, what it's about, but I've just been hearing things and I think I've seen like a trailer or two. I don't know who's in the film, nothing. On Friday, I was like, oh, I should see this because Chris is going to see it. And I have to say, this has probably never happened to me. So this is a first, but I actually walked out of that film after 45 minutes. I was super frustrated. I was so bored. I was bored to tears. I was like, I'd actually rather go home and watch something on streaming than like sit here. I think I walked out at the moment they were going snorkeling and like they're talking about how he loses like the goggles or she didn't get the goggles and stuff. And I was just like, I don't know where this is going, but it doesn't, like, nothing is really unfurling. And maybe that's on my end of me not being very patient. But I was just like, I understand the shots and all this other cool stuff, but this really could have been a short.
When you asked me if I had seen it, and I said yes, and the way you were kind of setting it up coming into this episode, I thought, oh, look, Qual walked out because I almost walked out.
Oh,
I almost walked out in the first 4 minutes because it starts with a lot of shaky cam,
yes,
filming on
yes.
their phones, and that makes me so sick. Like
Yep.
and it was a long shot of that, and I was just like, I don't think I can do this. Like,
Yeah.
so I almost walked out because I was like, I can't even look at the screen, and not a lot is happening anyway. So I think I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, that was me. I mean, yeah, I tried to stick it out. I thought some things were very interesting. I love like the filters and thought that they did something very cool there. But it was just such a quiet film and trying to figure out, okay, what is the relationship between the daughter and the dad? He seems very young. There was a phone call with the mom at some point, but it just kept on just going on, kind of like the dialogue was terrible. Trying to understand what was going on within the confines of like the child, the dad, the resort that they were in. I gave up. Was at Nighthawk and I literally wrote on the card, "Can I have my check? This is boring." um, ugh. And then I went home and I tried to figure out, okay, was there anything that I may have missed? Like, does it change? I got like no information.
So this is off topic slightly, but at Nighthawk, is every theater set up like that where there's in-seat dining?
Mhm. Yes.
Oh, I thought it was just that one theater because we're always in that same theater.
Yeah, no, it's not in theater one. It's in all
Okay.
of them. Yeah. But they're all different degrees of like, this was a very small theater. I think there were probably like 30 seats total.
Oh, okay.
Um, and there were a handful of people in there, intently watching the film. And I was just, I was looking around at first, like, is this just me? Like, and then I just, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wait it out. And I'm like watching and watching. And then I got to a point where I was just like, I don't think I can do this anymore.
Now, how do you feel about Terrence Malick movies?
I've seen The Tree of Life. I think it's fine. It's like sweeping and there's also storytelling.
Okay, I didn't see Tree of Life, but I did see Thin Red Line, and I
Mm.
saw like what was his like big famous like first one? I'll look it up and I'll put it in the thing. But anyway, The Thin Red Line to me was also a movie that I almost walked out of because it was so like there were shots that were like 3 minutes of nature's indifference to man. Like I got it. Let's
Hmm.
keep going. And that's what this reminded me of. I was like, oh, but I knew going in, it was only an hour and a half.
Hmm.
So I was like,
Oh, I
okay,
made it halfway through.
you did. You made it. I was like, you walked out after 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But so I kept waiting. Like I knew there had to be something. If the critics, like just even the marginal stuff that I had seen, like some critics liked it, like, okay, something has to happen. And there were some interesting shots throughout the movie, the way things were framed. I don't know. Do you want me to tell you what happened?
No, go ahead. I have no intention on. uh, I just, I do have a comment. This movie was super. I feel that this movie was super overhyped, and that the screen could have went to other things.
That's fair. I think you're right, but I also think that all the time about
Yes.
spoiler alert, or for anyone who walked out of the film at some point, I'll just tell you what happens. The whole thing is like he's building this relationship with his daughter, and like because they're away for however long they're away, like a week, more than a week, like maybe a
Mhm.
week and a half, right before she goes back to school. She lives with her mom most of the time. So he's trying to like build this relationship with her in like this concentrated period of time. He doesn't have very much money, so like that comes up towards the end. Like she signs them up for karaoke and he doesn't want to do it. And so she goes up and sings by herself. And he says, if you want to take singing lessons, if you like that, I can pay for lessons for you. And she's like,
Mhm.
oh, stop volunteering to pay for things when I know you don't have any money.
Mm.
Like she's aware that there's this like financial conflict in his life happening. And so that brings tension into the dynamic towards the end of the trip. Then they sort of have this disagreement, and she decides she's not going to go back to the room that they share in the hotel. And he goes back and he's like, well, then just come in like an hour, not too long. So while he's waiting for her to come back to the room, he gets frustrated. He's drinking, he goes out for a swim. So they're staying like on the beach. He goes out for
Mhm.
a night swim, which is pretty dangerous, actually,
Yeah.
on a beach with no lights. She can't remember which room, how to get back to their room. Because she's pretty young to be at a resort by herself.
Yeah.
But she can't remember how to get back to their room. So she ends up kind of like wandering around the resort trying to figure that out. So there's, she has interactions with other people staying in the hotel while that happens. And then she finally, like, the reception desk lets her back in the room. He's back in the room at that point and has passed out on the bed. He takes her back to the airport. Like they go their separate ways. But then throughout the movie, you're seeing these flashes of him at this party, like, or
Mhm.
this like nightclub where he's dancing sort of frantically. So that comes at the end. You also see her as an adult.
Yeah. I saw that in the beginning.
Okay, her as an adult, she's with her partner in their apartment. She has the rug that he bought. Did you see him buy the Turkish rug?
No.
So they go shopping at one point and he buys an expensive Turkish rug. And when they show her as an adult, you see the rug in her apartment.
Mhm.
So somehow she ended up with that. It's sort of implied that he kills himself at some point,
Mm.
or that he's no longer in her life.
Mhm.
But I got the feeling that he has killed himself because he makes poor decisions, right? He like goes swimming, night swimming
Yeah.
while he's drunk. And then,
He
so
has like the broken hand or wrist.
yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the information that would have helped to have this in the beginning to frame up, you know, because my immediate thought upon like they're in the beginning and they're checking into the hotel is like, he seems fairly young. How is he able to afford a solo vacation, you know, a vacation with his young daughter? None of that came up in the beginning, other than like him calling the reception, because I guess they get there pretty late and they don't have a 2-bed room that he had requested. And it seemed like it was kind of like a big ordeal for him to like get the thing that he wanted. Or them not having money for, I guess it's not an all-inclusive resort, because them not having money to pay and then they ditch was like a whole thing too. So I was just like, oh, this is really interesting. Yeah.
All right. So Aftersun, not a favorite for 2022.
Yeah. But I still did the ratings and I did get it granted. That's courtesy, I guess.
So let's pull up the slide. All right. So we were close.
Mhm.
I gave acting a 3 because there were two people I'd never seen before, I'm pretty sure. I
Mhm.
thought the girl did a good job. And I thought they did a good job of pairing the young her and the older her. I think they looked really very much alike.
Mhm.
And I think when you limit yourself with that constraint, like the person has to kind of look like this, then it's slimmer pickings for the
Yeah.
acting. Or maybe not. Maybe you pick the look of the older person based on like how good an actress you can find for the younger role. I don't know, whatever that process is. But I thought the girl did a really good job. It was a very quiet, slow build because there weren't any special effects or things to distract you like that. You kind of just have to rely on them to carry the story forward.
Mhm.
Cinematography I thought was great. Like there were definitely some interesting shots. I like the splicing in of the party scene because you don't really understand what's happening there. And
Mhm.
I mean, maybe if he didn't kill himself, then maybe I didn't ever understand what's happening there. But
No, I thought the cinematography was great. I mean, there were, you know, I think we mentioned the couple of shaky cams or like just lingering a little too long on certain things that never really matriculated in terms of storytelling.
yeah, there's a shaky cam at the end when he takes her to the airport that I almost like that I also had to hide my eyes for. But Aftersun, enough said.
Um,
Do you have anything to plug in this episode?
Nothing to plug. Yeah. How about you? Do you have anything to plug?
I do not. But I will say this is I believe this is our 97th episode. If you don't count the outtakes, if you don't count the Q&A postings, if you don't count you can count the Q&As if they are attached to a review. But if
Okay.
you just don't count the standalone Q&As, then I believe this is our 97th episode. So we are nearing 100.
Yay!
Thanks for watching and we will see you next time.
See you next time.